All right. So our objective for today is to use AI to enhance critical thinking. So far, I know in my own experience, um, the biggest fear I've had is that, oh my gosh, kids aren't going to know how to think anymore. They're going to just rely on AI. They're going to lose their critical thinking skills. It's going to be the doom of creativity. The very first meeting that I had with the team, it's been over a year ago now when AI boomed. We came together and I led a meeting about, what our approaches were going to be and what we could do. And we were brainstorming. And one of our specialists messaged me after the meeting and said, "You don't seem your normal peppy self." And I was like, "You got that right, sister. This is terrifying." And I spent a few months just like, this is awful. This is going to kill us. And I'm happy to report that over a year, a little bit over a year later, and lots of research and lots of good discussion with educators, I don't feel that way anymore. All right, here's a little game for you. You might need to shout this one out. Let me pull up my answer sheet. We are going to play a little game called Guess the AI Tool. So let's start with number one, the TV, this one right here. Somebody shouted out, what do you think that is? Oh no, it's too hard of a game.
Is it TikTok?
That very much could work for TikTok, yes.
Okay.
I thought YouTube.
YouTube. I'll tell you what I was going for. The way that AI can recommend entertainment, what to watch. Like when your Netflix can suggest based on what you watch, what else you might like to watch. But you're right, it absolutely is TikTok and YouTube and all those things. Okay, how about this one right here, the little robot with the speech bubble?
Alexa?
Chatbot.
Yes, Alexa, Siri, all those good things. This one's similar to the first one. I'll give you a hint. What do you think this one
application built into certain
AliExpress? Shopee?
Yes, yes. Shopping recommendations. I'm on Amazon right now, shopping for not right now, not at this moment, but for the holidays, and I'm getting all kinds of good recommendations. This one's actually a helpful one. What do you think this one is? This is supposed to be a bank right here, if that gives you a hint. Okay, I'll just tell you, it's a fraud alert. Do you all get those? We've noticed unusual spending activity on your card, and it'll ask you to. Okay, let's skip to the last one. This is predictive text. So, I'm typing a text to Jill and it knows what I'm going to say, and I can just hit click, 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 and I have my text. This one is a Google search. This one is the oldest one we're used to now, what's this one? Oh,
Grammarly? Word?
Check.
Spell check, yes. Okay, and the last one is Waze and Google Maps. So all of those things are things that we already use, we're comfortable with, it's happening. And what do you know? Those are all AI, and they're all benefits to our life for the most part, right? So without us even really thinking about it over the past several years, AI it's everywhere. It is ubiquitous. So just a little reminder that we're already in it, we're already used to it. And today we're looking at what that means for writing and assignments and educational life in particular. Okay, so I looked at a couple definitions of AI and I got these. You can read those for yourself. I think those are really boring definitions. This first one, National Artificial Intelligence Act of 2020, I can't even hardly follow that. It's very very computer speak, very wise, very academic. So I prefer this definition. The robot that can understand natural language but still can't understand why people like pineapple on their pizza. And I put this as kind of a joke, you all, but really that's the heart of it, right? AI can pull information from what is out there. And there's a lot out there. And it can put things together and it can sound really smart, but it can only work based on what humans have already contributed. It can't make things up. It has a really hard time with humor. It can't have empathy. There are so many things that AI just will never be able to do. It's all based on us. So like I said at the beginning, we're on a scale. You saw this in your chat, right? Some of us are over here. AI will be our doom. It is the end of civilization as we know it. It is going to turn us all into mush. Some of us are something in between. A lot of us, I saw a lot of in the chat, like, hi, I'm kind of, I don't know, I'm unsure. And then some of us are excited. Now, interestingly, as we saw in the chat, this is where our kiddos are, right? Look, I can't stand this. I got to stop messing with my cursor. I see great possibilities. It's exciting. I'm thrilled. And so our goal today is to move just wherever you are on this scale, wherever it is, if we could just move a little bit to the right today, just to open up, even if you're scared, even if you're feeling that it's the worst of the worst, if we could just take one step to the right, I think we'll be closer to being in control of AI instead of it being in control of us. All right. I kind of felt at the beginning like an ostrich with my head buried. Like I would like very much to pretend that AI does not exist. I would like very much to just say, you know what, this is going to pass. And I spent a couple months there. Like, this isn't happening. But we can't stay there. We can't be that ostrich. We need to be the other ostrich. We need to be the ostrich with our head up, looking around. We've got to be a little bit curious. So as we talk today, I want to encourage us, don't be that ostrich. Don't be the one with your head under your desk pretending like it's not happening. It is happening. Let's go ahead and lean in. Let's have the important conversations with our kids. Let's learn with them. Let's not look at it as an enemy. Let's start playing around and learning some cool stuff with them. And as I hope you'll see, we're gonna have some ways that it can really help us in the classroom. And some of you probably already do. Okay, AI can help you, and this is what we're going to talk about today. All of these things you see by our robot up there are things that AI can help alleviate for you. You as an educator have access now to tools that will save you so much time. They will, at the end of a long day and you're trying to be creative for the next day, generative AI can help your ideas pop. You can type in a seed of an idea and it can give you possibilities. It can make quizzes for you. It can suggest interactives and games. The icebreaker that we played at the beginning, AI gave me that idea. I said, what would be some fun icebreakers for a meeting on the power of AI? And it said, oh, make some emojis. And so I did. And so it's still me, I'm still doing it, but it takes away time. Now, I'll leave it up to you to judge whether or not that was a good icebreaker or not. But the point is, it created an icebreaker. And do you know what it also created? It created these images and it created that image. There is no image on the internet of an ostrich with its head hiding under a desk. I wanted that image for this slide. I wanted a picture of an ostrich with its head, and I thought, oh, I want it in a classroom. And I checked Pixabay and I checked Unsplash and I went out onto the wide internet, it's not there. So I used Microsoft Bing, and now I have exactly the images that I want. It also created this warm, friendly teacher in her classroom. And that is you, because AI can do a lot of stuff, but it has nothing on you as an educator in your class with your kids. You are the wise one, you are the empathetic one, you are the one who connects, you are the one who makes the difference. So keep that in mind as we move ahead. Okay, so as I was talking about AI, I started thinking about Spider-Man and the quote, with great power comes great responsibility. And I thought, that's what this is, right? Like AI is a great power and we have a responsibility to use it correctly. And I started thinking, well, where the heck did that quote come from? And so I looked that up, and it comes from Voltaire. Several sources said, with great power, there must also come great responsibility. I saw it on several sites, so I'm gonna think it's correct. If I used it in an official paper, I would research some more. Then I said, hey, who else said that? Who else said something like that? And AI told me that President Barack Obama said something like that, and Martin Luther King Jr. said something like that. And I'm like, well, cool, I like those guys. I wonder where they said that. So I started researching, and do you know what? I can't find it. It's not recorded anywhere that Barack Obama said that or Martin Luther King said that. So then I said, oh, well, I'm going to go back to AI and I'm going to ask AI where it got those quotes. So I typed in, what did the filmmakers, who else has used this quote? AI said, Barack Obama used it in 2006. And I said, okay, well, give me a link to the speech in 2006. And AI said, I apologize for any confusion. There might be an error. I couldn't find a speech by President Barack Obama in 2006 with that quote. So it seems we just went in a happy little circle there with AI giving me a quote and then telling me it can't find the quote. So something fun to try with your students is an exercise just like that. Just like that is so powerful to say, if AI gives you a fact, ask it where it found the fact. And you all sometimes, this, you all told me at the last conference, AI will make up its own links and it will link you to something and it doesn't exist. So a quick icebreaker you can even do with your students is one just like this to show sometimes it gets it right, sometimes it gets it way wrong. Let me take a moment here because I know our context is special. We're working together with our students on academic integrity. So before we get to the strategies today, let me take just a moment to talk about how we handle academic integrity here and what our policy will look like for 2024. We are a big group and we all have different perspectives. So I know that I'm going to share these things and some of you are going to go, oh, yeah, that sounds good. And others are going to say, I don't really care, just as long as we're doing something. And others of you are going to say, oh, no, I don't like that at all. So I'll share it with you. And then after today, if you have any concerns or you want to talk through things more, understand a little bit more of our perspective or our processes, please email me. I'm always right here at this desk, except when I'm a minute late for my presentation. All right, so here's our posture towards plagiarism. We really try not to look at it as a punitive matter. We really, in our hearts, despite our fatigue sometimes, look at it as a chance to help kids find their voice. So when a student plagiarizes, it's not, oh my goodness, how could you do that? It's, hey, this thing happened. Let's have a little conversation about it, because what we really want is for you to have your voice and your expertise and your opinion. So that's our posture and our heart and our intent. Now, are there consequences when a student plagiarizes? Yes, yes, there are. And so in those conversations with them, we want to say yes to your original voice, Yes to using the writing process. We realize that there's not always time. We realize that on every assignment, you nor your students always has time to work through the entire writing process. That's life. Classes are busy, you're busy, kids are busy, but as much as possible, that chance to work from a rough, messy draft into shaping it into something else is so important. And that's where the voice work is going to happen. If you were in Karen's writing process demonstration the other day, that's what it was all about, shaping it. Yes to peer and teacher review. Yes to using AI. It's okay if you use it well. Nope, we do not want straight copying from any source whatsoever. When you plug in a prompt and you lift it and you plop it in your own essay, that is plagiarism. If you plug in a prompt and you ask it questions and you interact with it and you massage it and you make it into your own voice, that's something different altogether. That's okay for ideas, but never okay to just lift something and plop it in. So this is our plagiarism policy. You all are very familiar with this policy. You hear probably from Jill and me all the time, along with Mr. Coppolo and some of our other teachers, but definitely our comp and lit courses are where we see kids struggling with this the most. So if a student has plagiarized 50% or more of a piece, we give that a 0. If it's below 50%, we grade what we can. We grade what's original. We reach out to you. You let the student know we've written notes on their paper and it's the first time, and that's it. By far, we're finding that one conversation, that little pause, we just don't have a lot of repeat instances of plagiarism. It's kind of amazing. And that speaks to the hard work that you all are doing and your conversations you're having. Sometimes we do have a repeat, and that's when we start taking some other steps. So if it's their second instance, they still get the score deduction, but we send a reflection to you to share with the student. And then instance 3, we get a little more serious. I can probably count on 2 hands the number of 3 and 4 plagiarisms we've had for students. Usually they cool it, but that comes with a lot of good conversations. In the past with AI, because we were all kind of getting used to AI, if we really knew that something was AI generated, we let them redo it the first time. We're going to stop that for 2024. So if it's obviously AI, if we can tell without a shadow of a doubt, and I'll talk about that in a minute, we're not going to let them redo it. We're just going to follow the same process that we've always followed for plagiarism. You'll have a point deduction, and then if it continues, we'll have more serious consequences. Exams are an exception. We just have 2 exams in each course, and they're very high stakes. So if a student has never plagiarized and the first time they do it happens to be on an exam, we will let them redo that exam for 75% of their score. That has to be, though, their very first time. If they've had any other plagiarism instances in courses, we've already had that conversation and they've made that choice to do that again. And so that opportunity won't be available to them. So I'm going to come back to this a little bit later because I don't want to focus on the negative for this presentation. I want to focus on the positive, but I know you have questions and I'll try to save time at the end. And if not, I'm right here. Okay, this is Dr. Tori Mondelli. She is with the College of Education and Human Development, like us. She works at the university level. She's an author. She's an expert on gaming. And she's been holding a lot of workshops here on campus for AI tools. And I had a conversation with her the other day, and she said the words on the screen, and it just kind of caught me. So she said, very first, right out of the gate for our meeting, she said, generative AI is ubiquitous, it's undetectable, and it's transformative. And I feel like that quote just really sums up what we said at the beginning of this of this chat, we have mixed feelings about it. It's all around us. We're afraid we can't catch it when it happens, but you know what? It's absolutely transformative. It's that idea of both and, it can be dangerous and scary, and it can be amazing and helpful and beneficial. And so we're going to get on to some of the things that can be beneficial with it. Okay, so here's our challenge. Again, this little image was created by Microsoft Bing. I just typed in excited student using the computer, and this is what I got. I would like to challenge us today to look at using AI in the classroom as a responsibility, like Uncle Ben and Spider-Man. It's a great responsibility. We have a responsibility to know what it is, to know how it's used, to stay current with it, and to help students absorb it into their toolbox, and use it correctly. So this little chart you've seen if you're in a Comp and Lit course. This is the base of any course students take at Mizzou Academy. They're called active reading strategies. I think they should be called active learning strategies. They are any historical text they read, anything they do for health, certainly speech and debate, certainly Comp and Lit. These strategies are what kids do to not only understand information, but start to interact in a way that's meaningful to them. So it's creating a learner engagement because they're being active learners. They're predicting, they're responding, they're thinking about it, they're connecting, they're all of those things. So I'm going to go through each one and I'm going to show you how you can use AI in any class to start getting kids to dig in and connect to the information that you're teaching them. Okay, so in terms of just reading in general, anything you see in the thought bubble comes from us, and anything you see in the square is something that AI can help you with. And I have this little pattern all the way through the presentation. So as a learner, I am the one that has to do the reading, whether I'm reading it by sight or whether I'm listening to it. I have to take in the information. I'm the one who connects to it. Nobody else can bring my personal experiences to the table, just me. I'm the one who gets to decide what I think was well done about it, what I think wasn't well done, whether I liked it or not. I'm the one who's evaluating it, and I'm the one that has to apply it. But AI can help us with summarizing, adjusting the reading level, and outlining. And we're going to talk about that in more detail. But if you have students who are struggling learners, you can, if they struggle with reading comprehension, you can ask them to go ahead and read a piece, but then ask AI to summarize it. Now, do they need to check that AI is summarizing the right piece? Yes. We've all seen them type in the title of a short story and it's a completely wrong short story. So they need to have enough familiarity to know that it's the right one. You can type in any text and you can say, you know what, bump this up to an 11th grade reading level, or take it to a 6th grade reading level. You can adjust the text so that someone can still enjoy or understand. Like say there's a health paragraph that has a lot of technical information. You can use AI to adjust that for you. Yesterday, we were talking about primary sources and history. So a lot of times when students are reading those old texts, the vocabulary is unfamiliar, the sentence structure is different than what we're used to. In your first or second language, old English, like from the 1800s, 1700s, it has a totally different feel. It feels different to any of us who approach it. And someone said, wouldn't it be cool if we had like a no fear Shakespeare for primary historical sources? Well, you do. You can put those into AI and you can generate those for your kids, or you can teach your kids how to do it. So it can help you as you teach a lesson, get the reading level to a place that they can really absorb it. Okay, here are some fun activities to try. This comes from what I've tried in playing with things and in my curriculum writing. It also comes from a lot of workshops that I've attended. So the things that I'm sharing with you have been tested a little bit. I'm not just pulling them randomly. These are things that people I've talked to have tried and used and liked. And they're just ideas to get you started. So first of all, in any class, this is a really good activity that actually pushes them a little further into better critical thinking. Um, get your text and ask everyone to jot down 5 main points from the text. And right there, you've done a good activity because even if they share at that point, my 5 points are going to be different than your 5 points, and we can have a discussion around that. And you can help guide the difference between what's an essential point and what's supporting. There are all kinds of good things you can do around that. But for this, to use AI, you can plug that same text into AI and have it summarize it. And then you can compare the two. And what's going to happen is your students are going to see, first of all, okay, here's how AI is pulling out main points. And a lot of times it's really good at it. So they'll be learning a little bit about how to summarize. But second of all, they're going to see the human experience and they're going to see that their own experiences are influencing the points that they think are the main points. And so you can have a nice discussion about how our perspective influences what we pick out of a text and how to move through that and balance your perspective with the facts and evidence. And you can talk to your kids about fact checking. Like we saw with our President Barack Obama quote, sometimes AI makes a mistake. Same thing with predicting. This is a fun, playful activity. Predicting is key when kids are reading, and it doesn't matter which class they're in. They're predicting all the time, they just don't realize it. But as they can get stronger in that skill, it really helps them understand the information more because they're going to be comparing what I thought was going to happen to what really happened, in no matter the class. And so you can do that same kind of activity with AI, with asking AI to predict and then comparing and seeing what your experience from the story or from the text has to do with AI who's just reading it for what it is. So the question here is, how do these activities promote critical thinking? And so I just want to pause for a moment and ask, have any of you played around with anything like this so far? You can put it in the chat or tell us, have you had any little activities like this that you've played around with in your classroom that have been helpful? Or are you still at the point where you're like, I'm not touching this? Allison, have you played with it some? Yeah.
Yeah. So you can check, you can compare depending on the questions. If everyone has the same question, are they getting the same scripted answer or does it look different? So this is something even for teachers to look out for. Depending on the question that you give a student, you could easily pick up on plagiarism. Yeah.
Beautiful. And making that part of the conversation, right? Like, don't do that has a whole different feel to, well, what did you really think though? And you're safe to say that here. And Gina's saying she's used it in her own writing. And I would encourage you all to try that too, in your own lesson planning or whatever productions you do. Go ahead and mess around with it so that you can tell what the students are doing and give them some tips. I use it a lot. I use it a lot for email closers, especially when I'm writing a difficult email and I need to bring it to a close in a friendly way. I'll put my email into ChatGPT and I'll say, how would you end this in a professional friendly way? And it's super helpful. All right, I love these ideas, and we're going to gather these and put these with our presentation notes later. I'll move ahead, but we're going to come back to this in just a moment. All right, another thing that I've seen teachers do that I'm really interested for you all who have discussion-based courses to try, especially speech and debate, but all courses. You can ask ChatGPT or any of those types of things to have a debate with you. So you can type in the debate prompt, and you can put your stance in, your argument, and ask it to give you the counterpoints, and you can argue back and forth. And as you do that, you can see its strategies for arguing, and you can counter, and you can build up your strategies back and forth and back and forth. One teacher tried this and wrote a beautiful summary of how one student actually flipped a strongly held opinion that they'd had, because as he argued with ChatGPT, he realized, oh, I didn't fully understand this, and so he ended up flipping his thing. It's a great way to practice. It's a great way for your logical thinkers to engage. Sometimes it's hard student to student because they're a little bit too caught up in their heads, but you can certainly argue with the computer. There's no risk to that. I know some of our speech and debate teachers have said they'd like more quick prompts for their students to practice. You could easily use this as an icebreaker at the beginning of your classes. You can pop a prompt up on the whiteboard and tell kids to write an argument, and then you can model typing in that argument and see what the AI response is, and the kids can shout out their arguments and go back and forth and see where it leads you. Okay, this is one of my favorites. I do a lot of work with questioning in my curriculum writing, and when I have I used to teach ninth graders, and questioning strategies changed everything in my classroom. And I'm gonna give you a real specific tip here in a second. But the more that you can get your kids to ask questions, the more ownership they'll have. It's really hard to do. If they're not engaged with any text, they don't have any questions about it. They don't care. So that the power of getting them to ask questions, once you can kind of break that seal, it'll change everything for you. So this is a kind of a back and forth. At one of our earlier meetings, someone said, I think it was I say, you say, we say. It's that kind of idea. You start with me, then you meet with the partner, and then you kind of express what the whole group thinks. Ask students to generate a list of questions about a topic. I'm going to give you a strategy for that in just a minute so that you'll get good questions. See how many of those questions they can already. Yes, Bob, it's coming up at the end of this presentation. See if they can answer any of those on their own. Work with a partner then and look at the list and see if the partner can help you answer any. And then plug those questions into AI and see what responses you get. So here you're teaching kids to try to do as much as they can on their own first, and then use AI as a tool. Don't make it the go-to. Don't automatically seek the answers. We're a Google generation. I'll just Google it. But take a minute and see what you and your peers know, and then bring it out to AI and start comparing. And always, 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 you got to fact check. Okay, this is a teaching strategy that changed my ninth grade classes. This is so fun to do. It's a little bit tricky at first, but once they get the hang of it, it'll make your lessons pop, and it'll take the onus off of you and help your students own it. Okay, so it's the levels of question strategy. And it's loosely based on Bloom's taxonomy, but it's divided Bloom's into three segments. So the first type of question that students ask, and this is the most common at first, is a level 1 question, facts. So let's say I have to use Romeo and Juliet because that's what's on my head right now. So we use Romeo and Juliet, but it could be any class, does not have to be a literature class. Something that can be answered as a fact. What was Romeo's last name? Sometimes the question can't be answered. So what was the cause of the feud between Romeo and Juliet's families? We don't know. But anything that you can look at the text and answer with a fact. The second level is interpretation. Now, this is a little higher level. Kids can express their own opinions, but it has to be kind of based in the evidence, right? You can't just make things up. So it's a question that has to be answered using evidence to support your feeling. Do you believe in love at first sight is not really a level 2 question. That's a level 3 question because it's really personal opinion and connection. Was Capulet right when he threatened to throw Julia out of the house when she wanted to not marry Paris? That's a terrible question, but you get the point. So the kids have to say, yes, he was right because she was 13 years old. Nobody should be, disobeying their father like that in that culture or somebody else. No, he was a complete jerk. You're going to go back and forth like that with thoughts about what's happening. Then the level 3 connection is comparing it to world events or your life events or other literature events. So anything upper level where you're taking something that happens and you're connecting it outside of the text is the high level of thinking. What's a similar situation that's happened in your own life? What other literature have you read that explores the same theme? Here's this historical topic. Let's say we're talking about the Vietnam War. What are some of the elements of that war that are similar to da, 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 da. So you're moving from the bare facts to opinion to this big connection. So you can teach your students these levels and you can ask them to create their questions. It's kind of a little bit of a flipped classroom model. So if they've read it or you've discussed a text together, you can ask the class to design the questions and that's what you can talk about. And let me tell you, when they come up with their own questions after they get the hang of it, you will have discussions that you just could not have imagined. Like when the questions are coming from them, it's so much richer. Not that you can always do that. Of course, there are certain things you want to draw out of the text or, that are important for them. But in terms of them really engaging with the text, this is a very powerful strategy. So I thought we would try it really quickly, get the chat going again. Let's all put a level 1 question about artificial intelligence in the chat. So a level 1 question is something that could be answered with a fact. One example is, what's one AI tool we've mentioned so far in this workshop? And then we would talk about that. So if I could get a few people to be brave and try a level 1 question, something about artificial intelligence that can be answered with a fact. Jackie, I don't know the answer to that, but while people are thinking, I will tell you something that I learned. The person who did start ChatGPT purposefully did not give it a name like Alexa or Siri. He purposefully left the name ChatGPT very computer and formal because he did not want people to think of it as a person. He wanted it to be clear that it was a computer. Nice. Nice, you guys got it. Okay, you guys got it. Let's move to a level 2 question. A question that has to be answered using evidence. So it's not purely a, you guys are math people. It's a question that it can be someone's opinion, but it has to be able to be backed up. So let's try that. This one's a little trickier. A lot of times compare contrast questions are level 2 questions. How would Steve Jobs feel about ChatGPT, right? Because we know enough about him, we would need to base what we know about him and his opinion. Heidi, that kind of question is so cool for your students because it forces them to get out of their head and really start thinking as if they're in someone else's shoes. That's a really good one. All right, let's bump it up to level. Oh, it's a little bit of a biased question there, Joseph, but I like it. Um, all right, level 3 connection. Let's end it with this kind of question. This is a question that connects. You know what? I'm going to let you guys go wild. It doesn't have to be about AI. I feel that I've lost the fight on that one. So you just go big or go home. Any question you have that would connect something that a person would be studying with a bigger theme in literature, life, or the world. Mhm. All right. So when you are, I know you're about ready to go on a very well-deserved, beautiful break and let your minds rest and get refreshed. When you turn your mind back to teaching next semester, I really encourage you to teach your kids these levels and to incorporate that into some, not all, but some of your class discussions. I usually tell them leading up to it, you know, here's this text we're studying. We're going to generate some questions over it, so be sure you're familiar with the text. Of course, there are the kids who always come in and they're scanning it right before. That's okay. They're in there. It's okay. But I usually give them a little prep and then I start slow at first. Like I might have a time or two of just level 1 questions and then I'll move to level 2, level 3. But eventually, by the end of, a couple months, we're really jamming on it. It does take a lot of thinking. I mean, you can see here in our own chat, like it takes a little wrestling. You got to wrestle with things, but I really encourage you to give it a try. It was transformative in my classroom. All right. Experiences, examples, opinions, connections, perspective. Those are things that when we're moving into, so far we've been talking about listening and active learning. Now we're moving to writing. So we, again, just like with listening and learning, have to bring all of our experiences, our opinions, all of that is ours. And as good as AI is at writing things, it's got a terrible perspective. If you research AI bias, and just look at some of the examples that come up when AI tries to think like a human, it's really alarming because we do live in a world of imperfection, and a lot of ideas are floating around out there that are not kind. There are so many sexist, racist, ableist, like lots and lots of stuff out there. And AI doesn't know the difference and it draws on it and it will spit that out. So it can write a well-structured essay, man, but it cannot be human. It cannot bring the right perspective. So, like I've seen in the chat, if you have a topic, AI can help you. It can say, here's a good way to start that, or here's how you could structure it. And so it's great for structuring, bad for actual ideas. So next, let's turn our attention to writing. I'll take you through a couple of strategies you can use to help your kids with the writing process. Again, apologies to those who don't teach Comp and Lit. That's kind of, I love working with Jill in that area. That's my background. So this image is something many of you have already seen, but it's just the writing process. We generate a lot of ideas, then we start to organize them, and then we get in a loop, hopefully. Now, do I know that a lot of kids just write one draft and turn it in? Yes, I know that. Yes, I know that. And sometimes it has to be that way. That's all the time we have. But in an ideal world, we want to stay in this loop for a little bit. And then at the very end, we want to worry about editing. Okay. So let's look at a couple strategies for that. This is the SPACE acronym. It's kind of sweeping the educational world. You'll see I couldn't even really source it because it popped up on so many different sources. This is a little infographic you can even hang in your classroom, and you can just call out AI. You can say, no, a lot of us are experiencing or experimenting with AI tools. Here's a few tips. First of all, AI does not understand audience. So when you ask AI to write an essay, or a paragraph, or a response, or a CER, or whatever you're asking it to write, it will write it at a certain level, usually collegiate. That is right now how you can spot it in your students. It just sounds like a rocket scientist wrote it. It sounds so high level. So the first thing we need to do when we're playing with ideas in AI is let it know what our audience is. Our audience is my ninth grade classroom. It's not a college professor. Give it specific tasks, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. So again, it's not write this essay for me. It's give me some ideas for a creative hook. Oh, I like that idea. I'm going to put that in my own words. It's I've written this paragraph. What would be a good concluding sentence for this paragraph? That's great. I don't like a couple of those words. I'm going to mess with those. It's that kind of back and forth and back and forth. I'm writing on this topic in history. I need some ideas for good sources I could research evidence. Well, try these sources. Okay, I'm going to go try those sources. Like getting down to the nitty gritty, I'm stuck at this point and asking that specific question, not here's my prompt, write this response, right? So back and forth, back and forth. A is for assess for accuracy. Again, bias is rampant with AI, so you have to read what it's giving you and look for things that seem slanted, that seem too specific, and always assess for accuracy. If it gives you a site to research or if it gives you a quote, again, always trace it to the root because sometimes it just makes it up. This is where we get into voice and originality. So if I'm playing back and forth with AI and it's giving me ideas for structure and it's giving me ideas for some supporting evidence and it's giving me all these ideas, that's fine. That's no different than working in a group of peers. That's no different than sitting with my friends looking at the prompt and going, well, what are some things I might say to back that up? Or what's a kind of a fun, punchy conclusion I could add to this? Fine, all fine. Where we get into trouble is when we plug it in and we just lift it out and put it on our paper. So we need to make it in our own voice. We need to change the structure. Sometimes we need to add in our own words. We need to add in personal experiences and connections, and AI can try to do that for us, but it often fails miserably. I think Jill told this story the other day or in her session, but the funniest AI one I've seen is where a student, he was supposed to write about a conflict that he'd faced, and he wrote that he had to decide between two jobs, one at home and one in another city, and he decided to move from his home to start this new job, and he had like an excellent 401k. And I'm like, okay, he's a high school student, but he's moved. And then it got even funnier at the end in his reflection because he had obviously asked AI to do his reflection for him. And AI said, well, as a computer generated model, I can't reflect, but I can tell you some things that you might say. And so, that's too far. That's where we know it's obvious. And so it's up to us to curate and to revise and make it our own. And then you have to step back from the whole thing, maybe give it a day and really look at it fresh and massage it again and make sure that whatever it is you're working on is really yours and that you can edit it at that point. All right, I am curious. Haven't kept up with the chat. I'm curious if you all have played around with this concept any in your classes. Has anyone broken down the writing process with students and done a few AI friendly things to help them brainstorm or help them revise? Okay, so maybe this is something, and Bob just asked a few minutes ago, I'm about to share a bunch of helpful resources with you. Maybe this is something that you start to play with. Yes, yes, yes. Topic sentence, you all. Oh my word, they need help. Those topic sentences are very difficult. They're difficult for me. I mean, it's hard. So, put in a draft of your topic sentence and ask AI how to make it better. Yes. Oh, you guys, keep going. Those are great. Yes, you can type in your home language and ask for help back and forth in making it. You guys, you are using it. Look at you go. You're quiet, but you're using it. Okay. Keep that going. Keep that going. And I'm going to get into just a couple specifics. Okay. Okay. You're going to see here what you guys are actually chatting about right now. And I love that. Okay. So again, in the thought bubble, these are all the things that you bring to the classroom. And if you'll notice, those are way more important, powerful things than the things in the box. The things in the box are great. The things in the box help us be good communicators. But these things and the thought bubble help us be good people. So AI, and I'm going to show you a few tips, it can help you develop writing prompts. It can give you a wealth of fun discussion starters to get things hopping in your classroom. It can even help you with feedbacking. If you're developing a lesson, you can type in your objectives and ask it to create a lesson for a specific time frame, and it will give you an outline start to finish that you can then tweak. You can ask it for activities. You can ask it for icebreakers. You can ask it to help you create quizzes or to help your kids create review quizzes. It can create slide presentations for you. I did not use it to create this slide presentation, but it can do that. And as you're differentiating, you can type in an activity that you're doing and ask for levels that would reach different students. All right, so if you're working with a gifted student who needs something a little bit different, it can put a tweak on that. If you're working with someone who's still developing in an area, it can give you ideas for how to adapt that. It is amazing. What you see here are some of my favorite AI sites, and I've cultivated these from my own use and then also from my conversation with Dr. Mondelli. Presentations, canva.com, hands down, love Canva. If just general, most anything really, chat, OpenAI is the one I really like. And then I have a friend who loves Perplexity. I haven't played around a lot with Perplexity, but her experience is that it's a little more friendly and a little more human sounding. She really likes that one. For reading, speechify.com, and I've tried to pick ones that are free or very low cost, right? And you'll just kind of have to play around with them, but I've tried to pick ones that didn't have like a huge subscription. Speechify.com will let you input a text and students can hear it read out loud. That's super helpful. Here's the one I play with all the time, thanks to Erica Thornhill, our science teacher. bing.com/create. You can put in any idea you have for an image, and it will work with you and tweak it, and you'll get a really cool image. It does all kinds of different genres. So like Erica likes comic book style. A lot of times I'll put playful realistic. I don't even think that's a real genre, but it knows what I mean. That's how I got the ostrich. So that's a really fun one. You can use that with your kids on any of the assignments where we require images. If we don't say that it has to be an original image, they can play around and tweak it. And it's called engineering the prompt. When you keep asking it questions to get it to just the way you want it, that's prompt engineering. And that's critical thinking too. Like, what do I need to tweak to get to this other place? As long as they cite it, they can use that. ConquerBing.ai is just one quiz creator out there. There are many. Quizlet, you've probably already used. And then the discussions, if you go to parleyideas.com, it'll help you generate back and forth discussions. You can pick, I think it's the one where you can pick characters. There's another one I wrote down. I don't think it was free. I'll have to send, it wasn't free, so I didn't write it down. There's another one where you can specifically choose a historical figure and ask questions of the historical figure, and it will talk back to you. Like, it'll use the biographical facts, and it'll talk back to you as if it's that person. I will find that one, but it wasn't free, so I didn't put it on here. You will get a copy of this. Ooh, Gamma app. Oh, thank you. Amanda, I hadn't heard of that one. I will try. Cool. I can't wait to get back to the chat. I'm missing stuff over there. Okay, keep going in the chat. This is good. All right. If you are looking for something a little more formalized, a little more like I'm happy to experiment, but I really want to learn more. Here are some sites that are super helpful. These are recommended by the College of Education here on campus. So they've been studying this and cultivating resource for us. Here are their top 3. Wharton Interactive Crash Course is one. Harvard's AI Pedagogy Project. And there's a webinar with Dr. Robbie Melton. And this lady brings so much energy into her presentation. If you are feeling really still discouraged about AI, like you're just still in that paralyzed, yucky state, check out Dr. Robbie Melton. She will help you feel better. I hope I'm helping you feel a little better, but Robbie Melton, she's the one. So these are some bigger resources you can use that'll teach you about AI, give you a whole scope of it, really help you dig into what it is and how it can be used. All right. We're coming to the end, and then if we have time for questions, that would be awesome. Again, be this ostrich. Be the ostrich with your head up. You're curious. You got this. You're in control. And for all of us, here's the message that we need to remember for ourselves and to teach our students. No matter what, always fact check. Always cite, even if it's AI. Just because there's no human author doesn't mean that it's yours. So if you've used AI to help you with something, go ahead and cite it. Always remember, you are the creative critical force. Your perspectives matter. Your kids' experiences and what they bring to any assignment they're doing matters more than anything AI could ever create. We want to protect their voices. That's what we're talking about here. Use it as a tool, use it to help you get started, use it to help you finish things, smooth them out. Do not let it steal your voice. Be playful, curious, original, try things out, experiment, look for ways, actively look for ways to learn more and let it do some of the work for you. If you're not trying to learn something, if it's just an efficiency thing like creating a quiz, for heaven's sakes, let it take some of that load off to free you up for the more important things that you do. Okay, can you just give me a little check in the chat? And then if we have time for questions, that'd be awesome. Did we move the needle at all? Pop something encouraging in the chat, but also be honest. Like, no, I'm still where I was, or I can see a little light at the end of this tunnel. Feeling the light. Oh, I'm so happy. I'm going to assume that those of you that aren't putting something in the chat are still skeptical, and that's okay. Like I said, I spent many, many months not being my normal peppy self because of this. And so I just encourage us all to keep learning about it and to experiment. And this is just like, this little presentation is just the tip. It's just a little glimpse of some of the things we can do. And as you check out more resources, you're going to find your own things that I hope you'll share with us too. Okay, Angie?
You have about 20 minutes.
20 minutes, awesome. Okay, let's have some questions. Let's share some tips, have some questions, dig into a few things.
Am I allowed to share my screen?
You should be able to.
Yes.
Okay, so we were working on this project with Sarah for a while, trying to get primary school kids to get involved with English more, and we come up with different ideas. But I did try something I want to share. All right. This is created by AI, and do you think who does it look like?
It's Stephanie.
What?
No, it's not.
Hi, I'm Zara, your go-to English enthusiast and educator extraordinaire. Teaching brings me so much joy, especially when I get to work with students spanning from adorable kindergartners to the impressive high school crowd. But it's not just about the books for me. I'm a huge animal lover too. Infusing compassion into my teaching style is second nature, and my furry friends might just sneak into a lesson or two. My goal is to foster a love for language, literature, and learning, while also nurturing empathy and kindness. Join me in this incredible adventure of education, where we'll explore the world of words, ignite creativity, and make every lesson a memorable experience.
All right. Did you realize the voice?
Sarah.
Is that Sarah?
Yeah, the character is also her. So we wanted to get some connection with the kids, even if it's a character online. So it looked like Sarah, a younger one, when she was a kid.
Hey, no need to do that.
I know her since, so, you know. And this is still cooking, but we are going to make a series of this character. And we want the kids to spend about 20 minutes every week at night at home, online, and get some exercise, speaking exercises. So this is the latest we came up with. It's totally prepared by AI. I did prompt quite a lot to get the character set and made it look like Sarah. But it was amazing. So lately, I'm really into this AI thing a lot. I spend my nights hours on it, but it's very, very productive. I'm sure the students will be making much better stuff than what we do. So, but it's fun. It's easily usable for educators. So, how did you like it? What did you think about it?
That is next level. That is really, really cool. Can you share the program that you used in the chat in case we want to
Yeah.
play? Sarah, beautifully done.
Yeah,
I
she
love it.
recorded the voice.
Yes.
And we just put it on AI, and everything was made by AI.
It was so fun. Yeah. They're going to love that.
I think so.
Any other ideas that we could, I'll say, yes, Scott.
It's actually a little funny story, actually. We had Taylor Swift here a couple of months ago, and we also have a problem in the classroom with students using their cell phones. We've now got a blanket ban on cell phones in the classroom. So what I did was, using AI, I got images of Taylor Swift. And as the students came into the room, Taylor Swift's picture's on the board. I hit the play button and it says something like, "Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Please put your cell phones away, sit up straight, and listen to Mr. Cow."
Maybe they'll listen to Taylor. That's awesome. And you know what? A nice reminder for us to have a sense of humor in all of this, right? It's complex, it's nuanced, it's pros and cons, but have a sense of humor. Any other tips or questions?
I was reading in the chat and I saw Amanda's suggestion about Gamma app. Oh, wow. That is so powerful. I'm really glad you told me about that, Amanda. Thank you.
Yes.
Absolutely. It's an amazing tool, and you receive 400 credits when you open your account, and you can prepare so many presentations. I have already used text from the middle school book, inserted in the app, and asked for visuals, and it's truly amazing. Everybody should use it. It's very, very nice.
Love that.
I just typed in, write me a presentation about my favorite things. And I thought that it was going to just give me templates, but it filled in a whole slide on how I like soccer and surfing, which I don't. But I'm thinking, if I'm a kid, I just did my whole assignment in 20 seconds and I never picked up a pen. That was crazy. I look forward to playing with it, though. It looks like it'd be very powerful.
Let me just add to the Gamma app conversation. I've used it quite a few times. One thing that you can do is, once you use up all the credits, I have different email accounts, and then you refer, and then you pick back and go back and forth. So I've used it quite a lot. It also allows to generate images from there as well. So it pulls many things from where you need. And you can also adjust it. So it gives you just the prompts that you need, or it can give you the text. And I just like to share one thing that I did for creating images. The 10th graders read Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and then I had them do that Myers-Briggs personality test. And once they did that, AI took over for them. So they had to create the whatever alter ego based on their personality, and they then generated an image based on that, and they create basically a whole book on it.
So cool.
They really enjoyed it and they really played with it. The girls are a bit iffy because they came up with some awful looking girls and they didn't like that at all. So they're like, make it evil but pretty. And so they're pretty girls. And the boys just went wild with monstrous things.
That is exactly what I'm hoping for all of us. And I forgot to say this earlier, and I hope you'll be thinking of a tip to share while I say this little thing, but this tool is going to necessitate us changing our assignments. So, no longer is a question in an analytical essay. Yes, they still need to use those skills. I'm not saying we're never going to do that, but it's going to necessitate that we develop assignments that let them engage and give them a reason to be original, just like Fernando is sharing. Like, if they're engaged enough and you're thinking of how to tweak the prompt, you are doing critical thinking. You're not just putting in something and letting it spit it out. You're engaging and you're having to work through that. And so over time, it's going to change the way we teach. It's going to change everything about what we do. And I love to hear more examples like that, though. That's fantastic.
Can I super quickly ask a question about plagiarism?
Yes.
The thing with citing ChatGPT, for example, or AI as a source, is there like a standard? I mean, because how you use it as a source really matters. So you can say, I used it. My source is ChatGPT, but it doesn't really give the teacher a lot of information about how much you used it, in what way, what type of questions.
Right. So we're working up a resource on that, and it's just taking us a minute because it's really tricky. It's really tricky. We're trying to get a research, like so far, we're hoping that kids actually, if you just lifted it, like there's a sentence that it gave you that you like, we're hoping they'll go ahead and put those in quotes and cite it just like you would. But for the most part, at this point, we're happy if they just say something like created by Pedro with ChatGPT. And then, the hardest thing is that it is undetectable. And so unless they tell us, we just won't know. So part of that discussion is go ahead and cite it, but we're encouraging you to really have that back and forth with it rather than just lifting. And I know that's not a satisfactory answer. We're still working on the best way to do that. Do you have any insight? Do you have any ideas on how we can do that?
Well, I used it in class with my 9th grade, and they just launched a button that you can share your conversation with ChatGPT with another person. Mm-hmm. So I got them to do that. So I said, I want you to ask questions about your text to ChatGPT and then share the conversation. And then we kind of looked at, this person really used ChatGPT well because the questions that they asked really furthered their understanding. This person just said, what would be my grade, or rewrite it, or so we kind of could see from that, but that's only if the students choose to share that with us,
Right. And that's where we are too. Like, we're thinking, if we're saying to kids, we like AI too, and here's some ideas, we're hoping that by being proactive on the front end and training them how to use it, then really only those students who honestly, they were going to cheat anyway. They were out of time. They were struggling to understand. There's a wealth of reasons. If they have the tools to know how to do it correctly, I think we're going to head a lot of that off. And if we're having the conversations and we're seeing their original text, just even in passing through their desks, the more we know their voices, the more when we see that final draft, we can go, hey, that doesn't sound like you.
I think it's easier for us if we have the student in front of us because we know they're writing in a way, that maybe you guys, when you're doing distance learning, is much more difficult.
And we can compare across courses. We do that a lot, but we don't see them day to day. And that's why we always, unless it's obvious where they've said something like, as an AI model, I can't, that's obvious, but the rest, we check in with you to say this doesn't sound quite right. We rely on you because we're not going to penalize someone just based on a hunch. It's more about being proactive. I think at this point, it really has to be, rather than trying to catch people. It's just.
Well, I think your point about the students that are going to cheat are going to cheat in life, and that's they're shortchanging themselves. I got my students to do a debate about the advantages and disadvantages of AI, hoping that they'd come to the conclusion my brain will turn into mush if I don't learn how to use it. So they came to that conclusion, some of them that were the good students, and the students that are lazy are going to be lazy. And that's my worry. My worry is the good students are going to get better and the bad students are going to get lazier. But
I know. And we thought that just with like lifting things off of Google, let alone this, you know. But I love that idea. Like, did you put that in the chat? That's a great idea. Like, debate the benefits of AI with AI. That's a great idea. I think the more we lean into the conversations, isn't it like anything, like when you're dealing with, because there's the tools that we talked about today, but we're really talking about character development, right? And how do you help any kid develop character? You know, they're all at a certain starting point, just like our needle, you know, they're here, they're here, they're here. Maybe we're not going to get them all the way here, but maybe each conversation moves the needle a little, and we have to just kind of embrace that and not panic. But I have the same fears you do. Yeah.
thank you very much. Super interesting presentation.
Yes, and we will keep working on resources. Like that question is one that we have on our radar. So we'll keep working on resources too. And you guys share what you're learning. It helps us so much.
Yeah, I think it would be useful for students. I mean, every educational institution is struggling with the same thing, but so the students know how to identify how much they use. Like you say, quote marks would be great, but I don't think that's going to be where it goes either. You know?
Right.
I think it's going to have to be something else.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all. Thank you. Scott?
Yeah, just a quick question about when they're asked to create images.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would love to get them into AI-generated images, but could you repeat what you said before? That providing it's not an original image, but providing it's not no. If it's asking for an original image, then it cannot be AI.
I was trying to roll through our assignments when I said that. I feel like there's one assignment somewhere that asks kids like they're supposed to hand draw it.
Right.
So we wouldn't want them to but for most of our images, I think AI would be fantastic, especially since they can tweak it and.
Yeah, because I mean, if it says, you know, that you can use AI images, then we can use the graphic programs to generate something totally original. No, that's fine. That's great. Because it's just, I mean, because the other problem is I can't use it in the classroom very much. I mean, I use it myself. It's been an amazing piece of equipment, thing, whatever it is. Tool, yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's been an amazing tool for me personally. It's reduced my work time. Hang on, is my boss here? No, it's reduced my work time down. So it's awesome. But I would very much like to get the kids to use it, but we're having such a problem. They do not bring their devices, and so they want to use their cell phones. And the next thing you know, you get a student standing up and saying, "Excuse me, Mr. Cowie, can I just go and answer this call? It's my mum," in the middle of the classroom, you know, and they're playing games and they're tweeting each other and texting each other and insta-facing and faceogramming and things that I don't know.
Faceogramming. Do when you said they don't bring their devices, do the school's devices mitigate that? Like if they were to bring the devices? No, we used to have Chromebooks for the student could use, which then caused them nobody to bring their devices. But so many were getting damaged, and so then one or two went missing completely. The school then said, right, that's it. There is no devices available from the school. You have to bring your own. And apparently it is written as part of the contract with the school. The parents say that they will provide us a device for their student.
for the child, but they use them in the morning classes. So by the time they get to us in the afternoon, a lot of the time the batteries are flat, or they can't get the internet, or there's a myriad of problems. So then the question comes, can I use my cell phone? And originally it was okay, but now it is becoming more of a problem because many students are not doing the work on their cell phone. They're tweeting and they're, chatting and playing games and stuff. So just recently we've had a blanket ban on you will not use your cell phone. The only time the students are allowed to use their cell phone in school is during break time, but they do not bring them into the classroom. If they bring it into the classroom, the teacher sees it, he takes it off them.
Mm-hmm. So then they don't, by their own doing, they don't have a way then to access technology to do some things.
I mean, this might and probably will change, because I mean, there's so many things I would love to, because I knew nothing about AI a year ago.
Yeah.
And realized that I was going to fall far behind and just be an old fart, so better start learning about this stuff. And it is awesome. I mean, I love it. I think it's great. And I would love to get the students to interact, but they're not responsible enough to use the tech correctly. That's the problem. That's the biggest issue.
The only thing I can think of as a first shot, and I bet you if the whole group was here, they would have, because everybody has this trouble, they might have found some solutions. But at the very least, if a small group could work on one computer that projects to do the activity with like kind of like our Socratic seminar, like the rest of the class is watching and they have a text, they have a task as they watch, like what would you have asked, what kind of analyzing. That the kids are actually doing it, but it's projected so you can see what they're up to.
Good idea. I'll try that.
Look at that, the caffeine's kicking in, Scott.
Well, my caffeine is about 4 hours old at this point, so yeah, I'm going to go and get some more now.
But
Thank you very much
question,
indeed.
and I think we should talk about that more because everybody struggles with that. So
yeah. Super.
Thank you so much. Okay. Well, you guys, I don't even know what to say. I am in such respect for this group. I every time we get together, I just walk away going, wow, what brilliant people I get to work with. And I learn more from you every time. And I'm so appreciative of all of you coming today. I'm appreciative of all the hard work that you're doing, your passion, your connection with your kids. And I hope we get to talk about this more and come up with lots of ideas to just really bring a lot of light and excitement into what we do. And I know it's got a lot of layers to it. So if anyone has questions, concerns, if there's anything at all, please feel free to contact me, contact your lead teachers. I see Greg on here. I can't see everyone, but we're all around all the time, just like AI. You can't get rid of us. So go ahead and reach out anytime. And I really, really genuinely respect this group so much. And thank you for coming today. It was such a great way to kick off the morning. And now you're off for a little break before the end of the conference. So thank you all so much. I hope you have a great day.